사시
부기족식 매톡장 리락링신인대겐파디 상계싱두믹대우argi 조근남닥싱라주파rsho idam gururatnamandalakam niryatayami
상계
Chudang Soki Chognamla Jamchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chunyen Gipe Sunamki Drola Benchir Sange Druparsho
상계
Chudang Soki Chognamla Jamchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chunyen Gipe Sunamki Drola Benchir Sange Druparsho
상계
Chudang Soki Choknamla Jamchu Bardu Dakni Kyapsuchi Daki Chunyen Gipe Sunamki Drola Benchir Sange Druparsho.
All right then.
It's a recording, yeah. Can your microphone?
Oh, sorry. So me and Nick were on tour in Taiwan, and we had some extra time because it was a travel day, and so we went ahead in his text a little bit. Then I want you to know, I want you to hear the whole book, every book. So I asked him to just read you the English of his translation, which is already approved by me. Already checked and cleared out. So I suggest you read it from here because I might have changed a few words. I don't know.
Okay.
But maybe then just go for it.
Okay.
And up until the point where I start, where you went on your own, and then we have to work on that. Yeah. Okay. Here we go.
So what are the causes to give up these wrong beliefs? They are a method which involves steps, a method of teaching the path which relates to a method of realization. If you understand starting, then you will understand stopping. What's the purpose?
No, I mean,
Yeah.
you want to say anything about it?
Yeah.
I'll say something about it.
Please. That was even better.
Don't give me these two hyphens here. Okay. Now I'm going to teach you guys to make an M dash.
My version of Word doesn't do this for some reason.
You have to turn it on. So you you hit two dashes, and then you hit any letter and a space.
Oh.
And then you delete the, you see?
You
Okay?
can do it automatically.
And that's what it should look like.
How do you turn it
Oh,
on?
you can do it
I don't know, you worry about it later.
Oh, we'll do it
Okay.
later.
I'll show you.
Now, anything you want to say about it? I mean, why are we talking about
Okay,
this?
so this is a commentary on Nagarjuna, and where we've got so far in the verses is that he's, I'm trying to remember.
He's bowing down to the,
I think we're past the bowing, aren't we?
I don't know.
Oh, no, you're right. He's still bowing.
Yeah, he's bowing down to the Buddha. That's all.
Yeah, that's right. And part of the reason, what he's saying is how amazing the Buddha's teaching is. And
Also that you're going to learn 5 arguments for emptiness in ACI 2. This week in ACI 2 you're going to learn 5 arguments for emptiness. Most of them relate to starting and stopping. And many of them. Kien Goki Tensik, Jebun Goki, Jen Goki Tensik, starting. So apparently the examination of starting and stopping is a good place to understand emptiness. Okay.
Now I remember where we're at.
Okay. And he praises the Buddha.
For teaching dependence.
And he has a verse at the beginning of the book. We call an offering of praise. So this is a standard way to start a Buddhist book. You bow down to somebody and you thank them. Okay.
And then within that, he talked about how the Buddha taught dependence and the thing that eradicates your wrong understanding of starting and stopping.
Okay.
What's the purpose of?
Oh, so I put a note like this when I want to change your translation.
Oh.
Who's the master here?
Nagarjuna.
Yeah, so capital M when you're saying that master. You see?
Okay.
If it's a specific master, capital M.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
By the way, I want you to check the carving. I think this might be misspelled.
Oh,
So, okay.
Okay, I'll go back and check
Okay.
it. What's the purpose of teaching it this way, one may ask? Because doing it in steps like this is meant to help the student. All descriptions of what the Buddha did by teaching dependence.
Hang on. I think I see something to complain about here.
Oh,
Yeah, I want 2 spaces after periods, and I don't want to fix them.
huh.
I'll just send it back to you. Okay.
2 spaces after periods.
Now, not here because it's still part of a sentence, of a single
Right.
sentence. Okay.
That other one.
Okay. Here we go. All right, go.
We can also say that we get rid
Oh,
of.
I'm sorry. I'm going to interrupt you again, and I'm ruthlessly interrupting you. You're going to change all these. I'm not going to do it this time. To something that looks more attractive to your reader. Okay. Okay, that's the standard for a page number now. That's not the way they're input. So you're gonna. This is what it should look like in a book. Okay. All right.
I'm going to put a little symbol there. In my
F means folio. Means these Tibetan pages like up here. Okay.
Okay. No, I forgot where it was. What's the purpose of teaching it this way, one may ask? Because doing it in stuff like this is meant to help the student. We can also say that we get rid of these things by using the method of the reasoning spoken in the Buddha's teachings, as will be explained by the Master himself further on.
Now I'm going to throw a curveball at you, which is very unusual for me. What's the very distinctive thing about the 60 verses on reasoning? What distinctive way do we use the teachings of the Buddha to prove emptiness? What's different about that than, say, the 70 verses
That
on emptiness?
he's using the lower school.
Exactly, okay? So now his book is special. In his book, Nagarjuna is arguing with lower schools who say Buddha never taught emptiness. And Nagarjuna, being Nagarjuna, he uses their own books to prove to them that Buddha taught emptiness in their books. Okay, now there's a way of doing this. When we do the inter-monastery debates, we prepare for months. We have special meetings at night. We put a guard at the door. And it's very heavy. It's like the football teams that hide their plans, you know? And people spy on you. People try to figure out what your strategy is. And I'm in there with a computer. That made me popular. But
That's the database.
the point is, when you attack another monastery, you study their textbooks. And then when you get to an important point and they're not agreeing, you say, oh, the textbook writer from your monastery said, well, didn't he say, you know, and you use his own books against him. That's exactly what Nagarjuna is doing here. The whole book was written in response to lower schools who said Buddha didn't teach emptiness. And he uses the lower school's books to fight with the lower school sutras by Lord Buddha to fight the lower school. Okay? So that's the whole theme of your book. Kind of negative. Okay.
It's tough.
So when he says when he promises you that Nagarjuna is going to be presenting some reasoning based on scriptures later, he's just telling you, we're going to screw you with your own books.
Yeah.
Okay? I'm sorry to use crude language, but
Kensei seems like
it boils down to that.
Secondly, let's address objections. Someone may come and ask, why did Nagarjuna include an offering of praise in this book without having included one in the 70 verses on emptiness or stopping all argument?
This is a great question.
Yeah.
You know, like two of Nagarjuna's other great books, he doesn't bow down to the Buddha, he doesn't say thank you, Buddha, but in this book he does. So we know why. Now there's 2 problems here. You've got 1 space after the English translation. There should be 2, okay?
Where?
1 space
Oh, yeah.
before, two line spaces after. 1 line space before, 2 line spaces after. I'm not fixing it anymore. It drives me nuts. It wastes my time. Hundreds of hours fixing these things, okay?
Well, this has 2.
It's called grr. I send people grr. Okay, so two spaces here. 2 spaces after the English, 1 space before. Why did you capitalize praise here?
Where? Sorry, offering of praise. I don't know.
Yeah.
This.
I'm not fixing it in the future. Okay? Okay, the rest
maybe
is
I was on
great.
the plane, I was
You were
tired.
probably drunk. Okay,
That's
just
definitely-
kidding. We don't drink. Okay, go ahead.
The root text on wisdom and this book start off from the very beginning by presenting a touch of dependence. They are works which stand on their own, and therefore he added an offering of praise to them.
Just a small comment. I would add a comma here. Now, people asking me why do you use semicolons, why do you use colons? This is called a semicolon. This is called a comma. The pause is longer here. The pause in a natural, you gotta hear the sentence in your mind.
Yeah.
If you're a great writer, you hear the sentence in your mind.
Yeah.
The root text on wisdom in this book start off from the very beginning, presenting a touch of dependence. They are works which stand on their own. Shorter breath, and therefore he added an offering.
And after
Okay,
dependence,
so
that could kind of be a period, actually, right?
you could have, but I like the way you did it.
Okay.
Because because a period is a huge breath.
Yeah.
Period, huge breath, semicolon, half breath, colon, half breath, comma, quarter breath. Get into the flow. Feel the flow. People ask me why you put semicolons. Feel the sentence, and you'll hear a longer pause there. Okay. And it's also a question of weight.
Yeah, right. Like,
So what comes after the semicolon here is of equal weight to what comes before. If it had been a comma, the three elements would have been equal weight. But the last two pieces are meant to hang on together.
yeah.
You see what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's a quartering process. Halves and then quarters. And I'll keep working on it with you guys. Okay, here we go.
The former two are just an extension of the ideas expressed in the root text. They don't have a separate, independent subject matter, so he did not give them an offering of praise.
Yeah, so he was they.
Yeah.
Probably it's a Tibetan pronoun thing.
Thought so too.
But don't make me fix this stuff. Come on, it's not fair.
Oh,
Okay, it was
Oh, oh.
DE. By the way, you can go through and look where Word didn't like something. The program, not the person.
right, right.
And here I would give it more of a more pause. I would give it a M dash. Okay.
Okay.
Just because you have a semicolon coming up later, which is a pretty big pause already. So you can't use a semicolon.
Yeah.
Okay, so I like M dashes. Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
When you already have a semicolon, then put an M dash because you can't use a semicolon because you already used a semicolon.
Yeah.
And two semicolons in a single sentence are inconvenient unless it's a listing of long elements.
Right.
Listing of short elements should be commas.
Commas.
Listing of long elements should be semicolons.
Sure.
Okay, except for the last one. Okay, here we go. Now, explain what he's saying here.
The former two are just an extension. So he made an offering of praise in the root text on wisdom, and then the other two books mentioned, Gyaltsab J is saying here that the 70 verses and stopping all argument are extensions of the root text, so he didn't need to put another offering of praise.
Got it? So two of the books that Nagarjuna wrote are just continuations of ideas that he had in his big book, which is called Wisdom. His most famous book is called The Root Text on Wisdom, Prajna. So two of his other famous books are just continuations of the ideas in that book. So he doesn't have to write a separate praise of Lord Buddha in the beginning because they're just like footnotes. They're long footnotes. So they don't deserve their own. They are called tripa. Tripa means an extension. They are just extensions of his big book. They're not a new book, really. So those guys don't deserve a praise, okay? Because they're just supplements to his big book. But some other books, like this one, they stand on their own. They are not extensions of his big book. Okay, got it? All right. Now he says something. He does something mean to us.
Yeah.
Explain.
If you're wondering what parts of the root text they are extensions of, this information is in the commentary.
How many commentaries do there exist to Prajna?
Probably like 1,000.
3,000 or 4,000. Go look in the commentary if you want to know that point. Oh, thanks so much. You're so helpful. Luckily, we have a computer. Luckily, we spent 31 years putting all the books in the computer, which he's talking about the commentary to the 60 verses. Okay.
He's talking about the commentary out to the 60 verses.
He's not even talking about a commentary to this, which is even more of a bitch. I'm sorry.
Is there an auto commentary to the 60 verses?
No, but there's a commentary by the Vasubandhu to the 60 verses. So it's not unreasonable that he said, go check the commentary. Because it's the commentary, capital T. It's like New York is the city. Okay. How did I know?
Yeah.
I went looking for commentaries to the root text, and I didn't find anything. So then I went and found a commentary to the 60 verses, and I found it in there.
Oh.
And we found it on the bus, and you didn't make a note of it, and I spent extra time on it, and I'm irritated.
I thought
we did find it on the bus.
We thought it was Chandrakirti.
It is Chandrakirti, his commentary to the 60 verses.
Oh, it's Chandrakirti's commentary to the 60 verses?
Oh, Vasubandhu, sorry. No, it is Chandrakirti here.
So I did make a note.
But you didn't give me the note.
Saying,
You didn't give me the note.
It's not Jason Kappa, it's
no, this is Jason Kappa saying, please look at someone else's commentary to this.
No, the author, it's Gyaltsab J,
Gyaltsab's J.
which is the author of his book,
Please
is saying, if you want to know, okay, so these two books are just continuations of topics in his big book. If you want to know which topics, go check the commentary. Like, what part of the big book did he start the other two books, side books? Where did he start the side books from in the big book? I'm not going to tell you, but if you're interested, go check the commentary.
So the nasty guy here is Gyaltsab J.
Yeah, he's a nasty guy.
Wait a second, Geshe-la. Is the commentary to the 60 verses by Chandrakirti or Vasubandhu? I just want to get
Okay, now.
because
Okay, let's first of all, we can erase this now.
and I have a footnote in mind that I made. It was the last thing.
Yeah,
I
but
did.
you didn't give it to me, and I had to go find it again.
No, but somehow I was thinking of entering the middle way. So I don't.
Okay, now look.
I
went and got it for you, so you can't complain. And I copied it here for you, okay? So it's a Rikpa Chupe Delpa, okay? That's the name that I actually cut out of the text. So I do it very conservatively.
Sure.
I go get the name out of the book. And then I go to the colophon and I take the author's name out. So nobody can complain. I don't trust anybody. I'm not looking at the Hoku catalog. I'm not looking at the native catalog. I'm checking the book itself.
Yeah.
In the book itself, it says
Nagarjuna.
it was written by Nagarjuna. I copied that from it out of the book.
All right.
And then I went and got you the part
Yay. Thank you.
in the black print here.
Uh-huh.
So if we wanted to spend a whole day on this, we'd have to do that. But I'm gonna make it easy for you. Okay.
I love it.
So this is the part where Chandrakirti identifies where do these two side commentaries come from in the mother book. Okay. This is the paragraph where he identifies where in Nagarjuna's most famous book are these two side books taken out of. Okay, so here we go. I'm not going to read the whole thing to you. I'll do it quickly. Okay.
Okay.
Mepa means I'll tell you.
Uh-huh.
He's replying to a comment.
Okay.
Dong Ni Dunjupa, the 70 verses on emptiness, and Serpendopa.
Stopping all arguments.
Great.
Those
They
two.
are extensions of the middle way.
Meaning the root text on wisdom.
Good. So sometimes Nagarjuna's mother book, which its real name is Wisdom, and people give it all kinds of long names. He's brilliant. He's an Arya. He's a real Arya, and he called his book Wisdom. You know, he didn't say root text on blah blah blah. You know, he called his book Wisdom. In later years, people came to call it the Middle Way. So you have to know the Middle Way is a nickname for wisdom, which is his short, sweet name for his own masterpiece, okay, which we're going to study after Kamala Shila, if everyone survives. Okay. Rangi Gyu Kuna Mepa, since they don't stand on their own, Lokshik Tutupa Majude, they don't have a separate offering of praise. So actually, now you find out Gyaltsab J was copying it from Chandrakirti,
Right.
which is very common.
Uh-huh.
Dita Tsapadopa ni ngopa nang kimashi ni kimashi ni rangi ngopa maya de shingi ngopa yani da Tsapadopa di like. So Tsapadopa
Stopping all argument.
relates to this verse in the mother book,
Uh-huh.
starting here.
He
Ngopa
gives
nang kirangshin ni, the nature of all things.
Uh-huh.
Kela sopa mepate.
Conditions and
They have
such,
no
they don't have any
causes. Rangi ngopa yumente. They don't have their own things. Shingi ngopa yed reken, I don't know. Tsupadopa ni de la gelwa la lentapa gyurpich here. Tsupadopa,
Stopping
Nagarjuna's book called Stopping Argument, is a response to this argument. So in his mother book, Nagarjuna presents an argument from somebody else. And in his mother book, he doesn't destroy it. He writes another book about it.
Wow.
Okay? And they probably said some radical thing like things don't exist if they're empty. Okay? And then he wrote a whole book to respond to that. So that book is a response. And this is an argument. Okay? This is their argument. Silly argument. So if I was going to write a footnote, how much do you want to tell somebody?
Yeah.
The author's intent was not to load down his reader with that information. He said, go look at the book.
Right.
Okay? So you kind of have to honor the author's intention. He didn't want the book loaded down with extra stuff.
Yeah.
He could have done it, and he chose not to. So in my opinion, you would say, you could identify the verse or something and say, this is the verse from which quote Chandrakirti, give the page number,
Right.
and say, by the way, whenever I cut, I add a page number. So this is going from page 2A to 2B of Chandrakirti.
Of Chandrakirti.
Yeah,
Right.
okay. So you can say, if you're interested, you can go to page 2A, 2B, folio 2A to 2B of Tohoku number, blah, blah, blah.
Okay.
The Tohoku number I always give you because I hit Control X.
Right.
Control X out of Gopher gives you the whole path, and it gives you the catalog number. So you can write a footnote easily. I'm not writing footnotes anymore for you guys. You're writing them yourselves. You have many in your text already that I wrote for you. You can see how I did it. Do it the same way.
Yeah.
Give the people the same accuracy. That's what makes you different from other translators. Two things. A, more accurate. B, more readable. Okay, normal English, but the footnote is enough to sink a ship. It's so heavy you could sink a ship. Okay, one footnote. Okay, so that's what I want.
Okay.
Study it. Okay, so I'm giving you this. This one's for free.
Thank you, Gershon.
This
is a useful one.
I'll go
did
find
search
it.
for all this. And I
Yeah,
just couldn't
it
find
was
all.
very hard. It took me a while, and I was frustrated by the time because I remembered we did it on the bus, and I couldn't remember where it came from.
I honestly don't remember actually finding this.
We did. We found it. Yeah. Okay, now he's going to identify the other one, right?
Secondly, the actual text that is to be composed will be covered with the following topics. Is that what
No. I mean, we only got one of the
Oh,
two
right,
books.
right.
We got to go find the other one. What's the other one called?
It's Tongpani Dunchipa.
No, we just finished that. Oh,
we
yeah,
did
you're
second
right.
argument.
You're right. So now I'm just going to search for the number 7. Here we go. Here he gives the verse, okay? Jita Gyuma Milam Shin, like an illusion, like a dream. Trise Trongkir Chindawa, like the land of the Pretas, the city of Pretapuri, the city of the Pretas, which is the New York hotel in Malaysia. I swear this is part of the Pretas city. Don't tell Jenny. Do tell Jenny. Do tell Jenny. Don't tell Jenny. No, we were in a hotel. Everything was broken. Everything. The doors were broken. The bathtub was broken. The shower was broken. The curtains are broken. The elevator's broken. The toilet paper is. It's unbelievable. The toilet paper was made in I don't know where. Okay. Anyway, Deshin Kedan Deshin Ne. Starting, staying, and stopping. Starting, staying, and stopping are the same as the as these, illusory cities, as these dreams, as these illusions. Okay. So the book called The 70 Verses on Emptiness is a treatment in response to this verse of the argument that was raised by this verse. So it's an extension from that part. So if you want to look smart, which you should, you can mention the verses.
Okay. Oh, really?
Yeah, then you'd have to translate those two verses.
So the footnote's going to be like a page.
That's okay, because this was hard to find.
It's worth it.
So there's your other one. Okay, there's your other one. Okay.
Got it.
And then he has some little more discussion about it. Okay. Which you don't have to worry about.
Thank you for finding them again.
Yeah.
Maybe
that's the kind of stuff I want you guys to start doing, so to save me time. Because I had to drop my translation for the last 6 months. I'm not working on Tsongkhapa, his book on emptiness, and that would be a shame if I never finished it. But I couldn't touch it for 6 months because I was doing this stuff. Okay. So don't feel guilty about it, but just work as hard as you can not to make me spend time. Okay.
Secondly, the actual text that is to be composed will be covered with the following topics.
Yeah, and I want to point out, and it's good that we're checking someone's translation. You guys got to start putting your headers in. Okay. You got to start coming up with headers. An English book needs breathing space. An English reader wants at the end of a section. I read a lot of science fiction. The most popular books have short chapters because the reader, you're in the bathroom reading, and you can't go 20 pages, and but you want to reach a place where something ends. If you have a kid, you do 20 pages. Right. A baby 3-year-old.
Sorry, I ate something weird.
But you need a place to stop. You need a place to rest.
Yeah.
And you don't feel guilty that you stopped in the middle of a chapter.
Yeah.
So don't overdo it. Do it wisely. But give me some chapter headings. So now you're authorized, to do chapter headings. That's something that doesn't exist in an ancient Sanskrit text. They don't put chapter headings. It's very frustrating. Okay, here we go.
I wouldn't know how to separate out a book until I've read it, until I know what it says.
Well,
So
I
how do
agree.
know
I
what
agree.
headings to
Sometimes I'll go 20 pages, and then I'll go back and put in the headers, because then I see maybe he's only spent one sentence on this division.
Right.
So don't trust their divisions. Their divisions are not logical. First division has one sentence. Second division has 50 pages. So do not use their divisions. Okay. You go back. I agree. Do 5 pages. Then go back and look it over and see where could a header fit, and make them interesting headers. You're not restricted to, and make them short and sweet. Don't make them these long, boring things. Sometimes I spice them up a little bit. Okay, all right. Keep going, Nick, and I'll interrupt you shortly.
Secondly, the actual text that is to be composed will be covered with the following topics: the teaching that dependence is free of the two extremes, establishing that statements about the parts of a person and so on were figurative, problems of attachment to the parts of a person, and the benefits of freedom.
Okay, now Nick and I made an important. We were curious whether this was 3 topics or 4. And I remember sitting on the bus and discussing this comma.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
we spent some time on the comma. Is it 4 elements or is it 3? He's used the word dung, which means and. Here he's got 2 dungs. So he's got 1 element and, second element, and third element with the dung in the middle.
Yeah.
So did he intend the third element to be 3A, 3B? This is very legal. She's a lawyer. She's like, yeah, I got it. She said, this is how we write contracts. Is it meant to be 3A, 3B, or is it meant to be 3, 4, and somebody forgot the comma? And we went and studied it.
Yep.
We looked it up in the text, and it is treated as a separate topic. So, which thematically sounds logical.
Right.
Benefits of freedom and the problems of attachment to parts of a person, they're like different topics.
Pretty
But
different.
they didn't put a comma. So this is this is our curly brace percent sign means I found a mistake in the text, in the original text.
Yeah.
And we're using this weird combination of things so that your graduate students will go fix the database. Because I don't have time. I'm not going to go to the database, look up this sentence, add a comma, and then try to make sure that I own the database on that day.
Right.
Because if I don't, it's never going to get in the database anyway.
That'd be in one version.
So then it's too much. I'm like, I'm going on. I'll put this little mark. Your graduate students can figure it out. Okay, now I want to point out I almost used a bad word like bitch or something, but I want to point out something really irritating here. And it's very deep. It's very deep. He flirts with two ideas. Gyaltsab Je is flirting with two ideas, okay? One, and you got to buckle your seatbelt. You got your seatbelt buckled? Yeah, okay. And Stanley did his chest belt. So your subject of your book is dependence. I don't call it dependent origination because I have what I call the waiter test. I take Allison and some friends to a local restaurant. I say, Allison, ask the waiter if he can explain dependent origination to you. Say, I'm from China. I heard this word the other day. What's it mean? And the waiter, if they have a nice young lady, they're like, yeah, I can tell you. And I say, what's the word? And she'll say dependent origination. Then they go, I never heard of that. Okay, so I don't want to use words that a waiter can't explain. You see what I mean? It's just a weird word, So I call it dependence nowadays.
Yeah.
What's dependence? He'll say, oh, that's if I have kids and they depend on me. The waiter can answer you in 2 minutes, okay? So that's called the waiter test. So anyway, in this book, Gyaltsab Je and Nagarjuna are doing something radical. They say the meaning of dependence, Tendel ki dun, Tongba yin.
It's emptiness.
Now,
It's empty.
Now, there's two ways to look at that. He's either saying dependent origination has its own emptiness.
Mm-hmm.
That's the mild way to take it.
Right.
Or he's saying the real meaning of dependence is emptiness.
Yeah.
It's gotta
I
be
think
what
it's
he
that.
means.
Yeah.
It's not-
And he flirts between the two.
Uh-huh.
Finally, about 5 pages from now, he's going to say, it is. It is emptiness. Now, when I go back and see what he was talking about before, I can see he's preparing us for that. Because he doesn't say Tendel ki tomba. He doesn't say the emptiness of dependent origination. He says Tendel ki dun tomba yin.
Tongba yin is emptiness.
Yeah, the point of dependence is emptiness. You see, it's the two sides of the coin thing. They are not the same. One is,
Positive thing and the other is.
yeah, one is an absence, one is a positive. But he wants to push your buttons. He wants to. It's like Buddha. He wants to freak you out. Everything's empty. Nothing exists. Then Gyaltsab Je down below and Nagarjuna, he's going to say, dependent origination is emptiness. Sorry, emptiness is dependent origination. Okay, you want to know what's dependent origination? Emptiness.
So back to higher middle way here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's something that Jason Kappa famously said, right?
Well, we are in higher middle way arguing against low schools, almost Abhidharma presentation of emptiness. Okay. Now, so what I'm saying is, be sensitive to that point, even from here,
Yeah.
because what I'm saying is, you can say dependence is free of the two extremes, or you can say,
Dependence is the free. Hold on, I'm sorry.
yeah,
Is the freedom from the two extremes.
yeah, dependence is the general absence of the two
Yeah,
extremes.
yeah.
You see what I mean? Do you
Yeah.
get this difference?
Yeah, for sure.
It's very subtle.
It is.
It's very subtle. Knowing where he's going,
Yeah. Well, yeah.
you gotta figure it. You
Maybe
gotta.
I should. Maybe I'll leave it like this for this part, and then later on.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know.
Okay.
I think I won't know until we get to that far in the book, to how to.
Here's the
progress.
Tibetan, okay, and I'm going to stick on the point for a few minutes
Okay.
because it's really the guts of your book.
Yeah.
It's really the essence of your book,
Uh-huh.
right here. Why? Because the first turning of the wheel focused on Dendro.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
And he's trying to show that it is
Yeah.
in fact the upper
Yeah.
place position.
So this little phrase is the guts of his book. This little phrase is the guts of his whole book.
Wow, I just kinda knew it.
When he says Dendro, he's talking about the first turning of the wheel. That was the main subject. What were the two main subjects? Four Arya truths and dependent origination. First turning of the wheel. And in that style of presentation, he implied that things were self-existent. You see? Three subjects. Heaps, 4 truths, and 12 links. And in that presentation, in the first time he taught, the first period of Lord Buddha's teaching career, he implied all those things were self-existent. You know, so what's an important thing that has to happen in this book?
He has to show that.
Yeah. So right here it is, and then I'll let it go. Okay, Dendel Tadel de Demba. Is he saying demonstrate? Okay, I would use demonstrate instead of teaching. Okay, is he saying demonstrate that dependence doesn't have extremes? Choice 1. Demonstrate that dependence itself is free of extremes. Okay? Meaning, dependence has its own emptiness. Or are we to read this Dini grammar case as saying dependence is the absence of the two extremes? Which is to say dependence is emptiness, because you can read it either way.
So, based on what you're saying, that he's going to reveal in about 5 pages that it so maybe I will change it then.
Well, maybe we don't. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I think we'll be able to decide the flow when we get to that point in the book more easily, because we'll see how we want to make it progress. You know?
I believe he's being purposely ambiguous here.
Yeah, so how do you do that?
Yeah,
how
now
do you
that's a
make it
translator.
then
That's a
you're
master
I'm going to
translator.
put it in red here.
How
so
do you
that
make
we
it?
go back to
How do you make it? Could be either.
You
Yeah,
could do
yeah.
that. You'll find a way to do that.
Yeah, find a way.
You're the guy for the job.
But
Thanks for your confidence, man.
so I'm going to change it to demonstrating, and I now own the mother copy. By the way.
Oh,
Okay.
right.
Okay.
So you'll send it to me.
Yes, exactly. So I'm going to change the date, which I always do, and I beg you guys to do. So now I'm not even going to say it's now going to be called 60 verses commentary. Then I want you to name your files like this: who's got the mother copy, and what's the date,
So it's
and change it every day. Even if you change one word, change the title of the file. Okay, got it? So now it's no longer Nick's update. It's the mother. Okay.
the mother.
Okay, it's the mother copy. No, I changed teaching to demonstrating, because that's the point.
Yeah.
Demba can mean
Uh,
teaching, or Demba can mean demonstrating, and in this case it's demonstrating. Okay, he's
It-
not. You
No,
see?
well, that's a different, because the way it was teaching was a noun. Now, the teaching.
Oh yeah, you can say demonstrating.
A
I'm sorry.
demonstration,
Yeah,
or-
no, you can say demonstrating.
Okay. Yeah.
It should be parallel. Ing.
Yeah.
You say as far as you can,
Uh-huh.
as far as it allows.
Demonstrating.
Okay.
Okay.
Demonstrating that dependence is free. And then okay, so you got to deal with this. I'm gonna leave this little thing in.
Right. I'll deal with it.
Does everybody
6
get the
months.
difference? Saying that dependence is free of the two extremes is to say dependence has emptiness.
Right.
Saying that dependence is the freedom from the two extremes is to say it is emptiness, which is an overstatement, which is like Heart Sutra, Shinjin. He's trying to be extreme. He's trying to cause trouble. Which one would Nagarjuna do?
Cause trouble.
He would cause some. He would throw some bees into the car and shut the door. You know, and see what happens.
Even like an M dash, right? Demonstrating dependence free of the two extremes.
You guys decide. Let's go on.
All right.
You cook it.
Okay.
My suggestion is when you have a very, very crucial point and you're trying to make a decision, sleep on it.
Yeah.
Don't make a snap decision. The next, you'll wake up at 4 o'clock and you go, damn, I got it. Your mind will crank it.
Yeah.
You know. Okay, good. The rest is okay.
All right.
This says, here's a point for you.
Sorry.
Start ending section.
Headers.
When you get thumbos, nipas, sumbas,
Okay.
you better have a section header. What I will do
Oh,
on a
second.
provisional translation, I will put a $sign here.
Oh, just
and
to
it
remind
means
yourself.
it's a note to myself. Go back and add a header here
Oh, cool.
with Utpala's point. When you know more about
What's
how,
gonna happen there?
no, I mean,
Oh.
he'll say the first has 3, the first has 4, the first of those has 6, and then finally he'll get to his subject. So then you gotta go back and change the header.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so, okay,
Cool.
all right.
The first topic has 3 parts. Refuting the extreme view that
What was the first topic?
demonstrating that dependence is free of the two or is freedom from the
Great, I love it.
Yeah.
I will kiss you, but your wife is there. Okay, okay,
She'll kiss me for you.
all right. You do agree? All right. She says she'll take that responsibility.
The first topic has 3 parts. Refuting the extreme view that things exist, refuting arguments in favor of the 2 extreme views, refuting the essence of the 2 extremes.
I put an and in there, if you don't mind.
You put it,
See,
okay.
yeah.
I don't mind.
I mean, it's possible to do it the other way, but it's a little hard on the reader.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. I agree.
And the fact that I didn't change anything else in that sentence is pretty amazing. That means you're coming along. Okay.
I know.
By the way, I like that you used 3 gerunds. Ing, and ing. So when you have a list, if it's parallel, that's good. Ing, and ing.
Can I just say real quick that the no, it's the no versus the what of the 2
Oh.
extreme views.
Sorry.
No, you're great. It's the,
Yeah, it's a weird,
yeah,
it's a weird,
it's the
it's a
Drupje
weird
versus
sentence.
The no
Yeah, no.
of the,
yeah, it's
or
a weird,
Drupje.
yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
I like how you said arguments for Drupje. That was a good move. Okay. Well, I don't want to praise you too much. Okay.
That's good.
Dambala.
That's really good, Nick.
The first of these parts. Now this was, like, would you do a heading and then a heading?
No, you see, that's what I'm saying.
Okay. Because there was already.
It gets
heading just
gets
above.
distracting.
Yeah, that gets to be too
When
much.
he gets to his point,
Yeah.
put that heading.
Okay.
And I call it a linear headings. They're not,
It's like an outline.
Buddhist headings are not weighted equally. They'll have a heading for 1 sentence and then they'll have a heading for 50 pages.
Right.
So you gotta step in and
Make it balanced in English.
yeah, make it balanced. Exactly. Yeah. Okay.
The first of these parts has 2 divisions of its own. Who is it that realizes that dependence is free of elaboration, and the reasoning that we use to refute the extreme view that things could exist?
And that's the same question.
Uh-huh.
And I mean, look up here.
Yeah, the reasoning.
Is it that
Is it
dependence is
dependence
free of elaboration, or is it freedom from
It is
elaboration?
the freedom from elaboration.
Yeah.
So I'll put.
Okay. You deal with it. I have a note already.
I'm
See,
excited.
I own the mother
And
copy.
you're gonna give me that. Okay.
Yeah. So it's up to you.
Okay.
C just below means he's gonna hit that topic possibly today, but probably we don't have time. He's gonna hit the topic where he throws his bomb.
Uh-huh.
He says dependence is emptiness. Okay, which is
7 minutes, Geshe-la.
he's about to throw it. Let's see if we get there. Okay, go.
The first division has 2 steps: the actual explanation, followed by advice that we rely on, and understanding of the profound.
I like it.
Uh-huh.
The only thing here is that the original carving was misspelled,
Yeah, 10.
and
We come across as
and
wrong.
I would confirm that in a carving, because 10 BSTAN is possible but unlikely.
I think I checked.
Yeah,
And it was
I think
E.
we checked below when it came.
Uh-huh. Oh. Is there
It's a building fart.
fire?
Building fart.
Oh, fire.
Okay, let's keep going.
I guess it's okay.
A fire, not a fire.
Maybe
Here's the
somebody's
first.
fixing something.
Oh, they're breaking something.
Someone may
Somebody
comment
got
the following
indigestion.
assertion. Just
Oh,
as-
this is sexy. Ben will like this.
Yeah. Just as it's a contradiction in terms to say that a woman without a baby has had a baby, it is also a contradiction in terms to say that the meaning of dependence is that nothing starts or stops.
that sentence you could,
This is a brain buster.
yeah, you could sit with that sentence for a couple hours. You could meditate on that.
What?
Okay.
When I sit here and try to translate,
Is it weird to say a barren woman had a baby?
Quite.
doesn't make sense. Something that could
A
not.
barren means didn't have a baby or couldn't have a baby.
But
Like the
then
lady in
you
Shanghai.
cannot have
The lady with the pink baby in Shanghai. We can say a barren woman had a baby, but is that a contradiction to say that?
When did she become barren?
Yeah, exactly. When did she stop being barren?
Mo Sha Min.
Yeah, when does she stop being barren? She was a woman that the doctor said could not have a baby. So she was a barren woman.
Oh, thank God.
And then she had a baby.
Till she
Okay.
wasn't.
Now, got it? How weird it is?
Yeah.
Now, nothing starts and stops, but everything depends on everything else.
Yeah, great. Okay.
It's the same thing. That's what Gyaltsab is saying.
That's what someone
How
else
can
is
there
saying.
be dependent origination? How can things grow from other things if nothing starts and stops? It's like a contradiction already.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
already, Nagarjuna, you already messed up.
Yeah.
You know,
Which
that's like
one is
saying
it?
a barren woman had a baby. You know,
Totally.
got it?
Yeah, great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's really cool.
That's good.
It's really
Oh
cool.
man, we're just getting to the parts I want to get to.
It's a kachi, though.
No, he has a kachik. He has
Yes.
somebody come and complain.
Someone else's.
Someone
Come on,
comes and
Gyaltsab
makes the
J.
following
How can you say that the meaning of dependence? Now we're getting closer to that.
I know.
Is
I don't want this to
that
end.
nothing starts or stops, which is emptiness. Okay, if you say the meaning of dependence is that nothing starts or stops, then it's like a barren woman had a baby. Give me a break. Someone's complaining to Gyaltsab J. Somebody's complaining to Nagarjuna. Okay. By the way, Nagarjuna's task in this book is to take a teaching from the first turning of the wheel and show that it's really an emptiness teaching. Okay? By using the first turning of the wheel books. Oh, he's kind of like this guy, it's very Nagarjuna. He's, I'm going to do the impossible. Yeah, I don't want to just write a book. I want to show that these lower teachings themselves prove that the lower teachings teach emptiness.
Right.
That's very Nagarjuna. Okay? All right. Let's keep going.
If you're going to use, this is his reply, I suppose. If you're going to use that infant's mind of yours to imagine that there is some kind of contradiction here, then go ahead. For us, there's no such problem.
You're voting this dust, yes.
I really like the way you translated this. I have to say it's correctly sarcastic and insulting.
That's really easy for me.
Why is there the ampersand there? It's
Uh,
good.
I'm trying, oh, if your.
Yeah, why capitalize your? Is he
Oh,
divine or
did
something?
I do that?
You did.
No.
Okay.
I
No,
was drunk.
what it means is go back and read your own stuff later. Don't make me correct these things. Okay? It's just, it's your responsibility.
Yeah.
And I'm talking to everybody. I'm not just talking to Nick. Don't make me go back and correct comments and stuff like that. Come on. Okay? It's something you should, I'll do it the first term as a gift. But after that, I'm being a hard ass. Okay, here we go.
Your, can we just shorten it or should we just do it as you are?
Yours.
No, this is okay. This is correct.
Even
This
if
is
the
correct.
standard text is
Oh,
okay.
Can we use contractions in a literary work?
Yeah.
I say yes
Okay.
if you're calling someone an asshole.
Yeah.
You know,
But if the standard
you don't have time to say if you are. You know, you say you're such an idiot. You know, I mean, you gotta get the feeling of the book. Yeah, but it's a good point.
Yeah.
In general, too many contractions makes the book look not scholarly or not serious. But sometimes it's better. You have to be. I think Phil has this sense of rhythm. You know, you have to feel the rhythm of the sentence, and sometimes 2 syllables breaks the rhythm. Okay, and in Tibetan they do it too. No.
Yeah, yeah.
It's
I
in
would
a
do it more than we do.
no. Yeah. Okay.
When infants hear no more than the word dependence, they immediately hold on to the idea of it having some sort of self nature.
Now, teach that as if you're standing there in Diamond Mountain in October. That one sentence.
Should I be thirsty?
No, just that's a That's a blockbuster sentence.
When he says the word,
What's he saying?
when he's using the word infants, he's talking about people who haven't yet seen emptiness directly.
I think
People
he's
who don't
being more
understand.
general. I think he's just saying any idiot, you know.
Okay.
Who's not sophisticated philosophically.
But he's saying something very radical here.
He's saying that.
Yeah.
and
Well,
this is empty too.
they're saying that it's not. They start to think of dependence as being the real way that things are, and that it has some sort of self nature. That it's not empty, and that it exists in and of itself.
What this sentence is saying is that as you explain the pen, the listener is taking the pen as self-existent and the teaching as self-existent. And they don't realize the person explaining the pen is coming from
Seeds.
them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Right.
So even while they're getting a teaching on the pen,
Right.
Oh, it's really a plastic
they are
cylinder.
looking at Michael and saying, you got
Michael
it?
Fish, I love teaching
That's
them.
what he's saying in this sentence. Okay? When Buddha in the first turning of the wheel, this radical teaching, all things come from cause, dependence. Then people are listening and they're saying, "Oh, Buddha's out there, coming from his own side, telling me that things are coming from their side, from my seeds." You see what I mean? Got it? This is a very radical sentence, very important sentence. People who don't get it, even while you're teaching it to them, they still don't get it. They're not getting it about getting it. Got it?
Good. Yeah, yeah.
Well,
That's it.
Thank
but
you,
this,
Geshe.
this is he's speaking to the lower people from the lower school.
Yeah, the
And
whole
yet-
thing.
And
Yeah.
yet he's using this concept, so the lower school people will not be able to accept the idea.
Yeah. They went through the whole first turning of the wheel, and at the end of the first turning of the wheel, they thought the teaching on dependence, which was the first turning of the wheel, came from its own side.
Yeah. So so this sentence really cannot convince the people from the lower school.
I don't think he's trying to convince. I think he's just insulting.
Geshe, it's after 8:45.
Let's finish this sentence.
Yeah.
Listen.
And so we can ourselves conclude with absolute clarity that, relative to the way a realized being sees.
You had an option,
Yeah, I threw it in there
and
because I was just.
I like the relative too.
Okay,
So
yeah.
I just wanted you to know I'm going to cut this out.
Yeah, cool.
I vote for your relative too. Your first instinct was correct,
Cool.
in my opinion.
And by the way, I wasn't thinking that this was the final version. Like, I left a lot of notes in there. I was going to correct it, I promise.
Thinking that you will have time to go back later is a fallacy.
Fallacy.
It's a mistake to think I can go back and.
Yeah, I mean,
He thought that
Whenever
would be his
you can-
assignment for this term.
whenever you can, finish it. Don't say I'll come back to this later, unless you don't understand it. Then come back to it later. Okay, there you go.
I got, yeah.
What about from the perspective? I mean, I did this to Poignac because I wasn't helpful. I just made trouble. But like, relative to seems like,
I don't mind from the perspective of a way that realized beings see. That's up to you.
from the
You guys
perspective of
argue
actually-
it. Some things I want the translators to
I like from the
decide
perspective
between
of-
each other, but I'll accept that if that's what you choose. You know.
Let me think about it.
But I own the mother copy. I'm just warning you. No, I mean I'll send it to you, but don't make corrections on that and think it's in the final.
Right, no.
Okay, here we go.
Dependence has no nature of its own. In order to convey this thought, Master Nagarjuna gives us the next verse of the root text.
Okay.
And that's
wait a minute, is he doing the other one now? Now he's saying dependence has no nature of its own, but it's not necessarily, as opposed to saying dependence is.
He's about to throw the bombshell.
Okay, didn't tune in.
Now,
next episode. Okay.
now then.
Now, just something about the Sanskrit. It looks good to me. I didn't check it, thoroughly, but I don't see any reason to capitalize every word.
Oh, okay.
It just
cool.
looks weird.
Alright.
Now, what I do, which is kind of artificial,
Any word.
to make it easier for a foreigner, is I'll make it look like a sentence, even though it's not. It's,
I see.
see.
You mean leave lowercase at
In
the-
fact, no, I'll put a period at the end, you see, which doesn't exist in Sanskrit. There's no reason for a period there. I'll capitalize the first word. I'll put a period at the end. It's just to make an English reader more comfortable.
Sure.
It's artificial.
Okay.
It doesn't exist in Sanskrit. There's no capital demonology.
Yeah.
But I just want to make people feel comfortable.
I do that
And
in
And
and
then what fonts are you using for the diacritics that are not found in Palatine Linotype?
I just go ahead and do it, and it's a good point, and if you can find a way out of it, I'm happy. The problem is in Palatino Linotype, who keeps giving me Palatino stuff? John Brady. We're in a font called Palatino Linotype. We're not in Palatino. Okay, so you gotta know a little bit about fonts when you're gonna be a writer.
Looks like it's Times Roman.
Palatino is Unicode.
I don't know,
No, it's
but Palatino, we're using Palatino
I
Linotype.
don't. Well, I'll talk about it later.
Anyway,
We gotta get-
sometimes when you put a diacritic on a Palatino Linotype word, it'll change to Roman, and it looks
right.
ugly.
Yeah,
It looks
yeah,
ugly.
yeah.
So you guys work it out.
You know,
Yeah.
there will
I-
come a time in the future when Palatino Linotype will be obsolete.
Palatine Linotype does not have.
No, they'll make a Unicode version of it.
Will they? If you drive that horse, it may happen. but
Now,
once
I
they
just
do
want
it-
to put something in your head. The Tibetan is in verse, equal syllable lines, 4.
Ganga,
Oh, I guess the Sanskrit is 2 lines, right?
Right.
Okay.
It is, and that's.
If it were me, if it were my text, I would count syllables. Asti nastivyati kranta buddhiryesham nirashraya.
Oh.
Oh my
Okay, so we got 33, I think. No, 5, 10, 11. Was it 11? Gambhirastar nir al Gambhirastar nir alamba pratyayarto vibhavyate. Yeah.
Beautiful.
We're good.
So put it in 4 lines instead of.
No, we're
3.
good.
Oh, okay.
Tibetans put 4 lines for 2 lines of Sanskrit.
Right.
Okay.
Cool.
All right. But if it were me, if it were my book, even if I couldn't read the Sanskrit very well, I would count the syllables to make sure there's not something missing.
Okay.
Cool.
By the way, his book is not totally extant in Sanskrit,
No.
right?
Uh,
But
it's
he's
just parts of it.
supplying parts of it that have been found in other books, quoted in other books. So scholars over the years have put together the quotations from other books, and they've get back together some of the Sanskrit, but we don't have the original.
I didn't do it. Some Chinese guy did it when he was doing his PhD thesis.
Yeah, thank God for PhD.
And Stanley helped me figure out which parts of it, because it's all written in Chinese,
Cool.
are because they actually reconstructed the Sanskrit from the Tibetan also. So some of it is reconstructed. in
Yeah,
Tibetan,
which
some
I
of it
threw
is
out.
original.
I don't want Sanskrit reconstructions from Tibet.
But I mean, it's pretty easy.
I want the original.
Yeah.
And if we can't find it, we should go find it. And we have 2 teams working on that every day,
Mhm.
looking for these books. But I don't want to untranslate it and hope that we got it right.
Mhm.
You know? So I threw that out. I don't want it in our books. You know. Okay.
Should we finish there, guys?
Yeah.
It's over time.
We have another.
Yeah, I like it when you
That
put
started
it in
10 minutes
bold.
ago.
Okay. Put things in. You're gonna change this to.
Right. Once again, I was going to do this. I promise. I wasn't.
Yeah. No, I don't mind.
Yeah, I knew
Just
this-
that's in the style sheet.
Yeah.
Okay. And we're gonna stop right here. Okay. So I put $3 means that's where I want to pick up next time. Cool.
Cool. Thank you. Krishna.
And then it gets more radical. Then you get
It's even better than $3.
next class is wild. Next class is gonna be wild. That's where he throws his bombshell, and something cool happens. One of the 5 original disciples who were the tiger cubs teaches Shariputra a verse, and Shariputra has a mystical experience.
I understood that part.
But I'll tell you, it took me about 3 hours to find it. It's a
They-
verse.
They found the actual part.
It's a verse.
Oh, you should have.
And there's no
They were working on
commas.
your text, Nick.
There's no division into verses. I figured it out.
Wow.
And Shariputra is not called Shariputra.
Uh-huh.
He's called something else.
Sharika.
Sharika.
No. His mother's name was Sharika. He's called. Anyway, I'll tell you next time. He's referred to with his original name and not his monk's name.
Wow. That's
So it's very
insane.
confusing.
Wow.
And then I figured it all out. Okay,
Thank
anyway.
you, Krishna.
Yeah. You ready?
Sashi
Buddhi Joshi Meto Jam Rira Ringshi Nyende Gyabadi Sangye Shingdu Mikde Uwagi Jokun Namda Shingla Chuparsho Idam Guru Ratna Mandala Kamniyatayami
Kewadi
Di Kewokun Sunam Yeshe Soksoshi Sunam Yeshe Lechungwe Tampar Kuni Topar Sho. All right. One thing I'd like to say about it, though, is that Nick had the initiative to keep his translation going. So in between terms, he tried. And he worked really, spent a lot of hours trying to translate. His is probably the most difficult text, except for words. So I just really liked that he tried. And then he really bothered me to check it. And I really didn't want to do it. But he got me trapped on the bus. He sat on the outside seat, I was on the inside seat. I couldn't get away. And I like the persistence. I like it. So you guys should take a lesson from that. Yeah. Okay.